Well, hello, another Monday, another film. No, the thing is, we're not NS Film, we're NS Films. There's several films I'm gonna have to make. Here's my favorite one thus far. It is a horror film. Could be PG, rated R, MG-17, up to whatever I make it. Just have to fix details about it to change it. Now, I might give this to Wes Anderson if I want. I feel that he would do this well. But as before, if you find that you made a story very similar to this, please prove it. If not, I'm still going to make this, and I'm going to sue you if you copy me. Alright, now without further ado, let the show begin.
The Bright Eye Killer, a Wisconsin Massacre. 1972, August 18th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Lieutenant Biggins reports that the case of the Bright Eye Killer must be now their top priority. He explains that the third killing had given them the evidence that the Bright Eye Killer specifically targets those who are mentally unwell, such as those who go to therapy. What the killer does is he burns the eyes. He burns the eyes as much as the sun, yet only the retinas. He cannot burn the skin. It is as if they are blinded before he removes the eyes. Detective Ramirez, Detective Sanchez, and Detective Garcia are now on the case. They go to the crime scene photographer Billy to cover his evidence in order to pin down the next move of the killer. They discover that the killer had been killing with a tool, such as an ice pick mixed with a spoon. They know that that's the object, since the killer had been removing the eyes without damaging the skin around it, as well as the eyes being pierced with a needle-like object. As the detectives study more, they are now told a new body was found, suspected to be killed by the same killer. Detective Ramirez and photographer Billy go to the scene. They find it in a storage closet at the supermarket. Yet they find the new body is hung. There is a blue liquid saying, "Not worthy." The body matches the patterns of the Bright Eye Killer, except for the fact that the body was hung. That is all that cannot match the hanging. Detective Ramirez asks if there are any cameras in the building. Surprisingly, there was one. It was specifically in the storage closet in order to keep track of an inventory. Ramirez says they will need the tape for further inspection, and they bring it to the detective's office in order to analyze it more properly. Once Ramirez is at the office the next day, we see what the footage holds. It shows in full color the killer, except since the colors are inverted. The killer is now a void, with eyes glowing dark gray, contrasting to the colored background. The detectives notice that the killer seems to speak to the victim telepathically, as the victim responds to what they believe to be thin air. They find that the victim's eyes are taken out as imagined, with the same sort of tool, nearly the exact same sort of tool. They find the victim hung themselves, not the killer. Yet in the footage, the glowing liquid is now the same color as the eyes of the killer, since the colors are inverted. The detectives now go back to the crime scene photography. They now go back to the scene of the crime to investigate more of the killing. While they are there, they find photographer Billy still examining the scene, and so they help him. While examining, Garcia and Billy take a break to get coffee from the nearby diner. Well, there, Garcia asks Billy why he was working so late. Billy says he wasn't. He just got there before them. As Garcia and Billy get coffee, Ramirez and Sanchez head to the drugstore to get some medicine for Ramirez. Ramirez says it's just painkillers. It's simply for his headache. Then the two detectives hear somebody screaming at a nearby apartment complex. Across the street, yelling for them. They head to the building and find a body. Freshly killed. They find it is as well matched as the manner of the Bright Eye Killer. For it is a new killing from the Bright Eye Killer. They call Garcia for help. Once Garcia is there, Billy says that the placement of the body killed nearly makes all the bodies create a heptagon. Only 2 more kills missing. The detectives agree to pick up the case tomorrow, because they have too much work on their hands already from so many killings. The next day, Sanchez is found dead in his apartment, with the television still on. Killed by the Bright Eye Killer. Well, at the apartment of Sanchez, Garcia tells Ramirez that the Bright Eye Killer must have known Sanchez was on the case. Besides the fact of what Garcia said, Billy now is trying to say the placement of this body is perfectly placed to nearly complete our heptagon, minus 1 more point. Ramirez and Billy find that idea to be too absurd for a theory. Why would a killer want to have a pattern that can possibly track them down, they say. Now Billy, well said, searches for the final coordinate before the body can show up. It might take him some time, for his lines are not too straight that he is drawing to find it. Garcia heads back to the office for his cigarettes, for he had left them there and forgot. Billy, trying to find the next coordinates, sees it is at the department, at their office. Billy tries to tell Ramirez, but Ramirez is too focused on the details of the killing. Then Billy yells that Garcia is going to die. Ramirez is astonished at what Billy had said. Billy explains his reasoning. Then they head to Ramirez's cruiser to try to tell Garcia over the radio as he races to the department. But Ramirez was too late. Once they arrive, Garcia was dead, and since there was no one else on the late shift that day, he could not have been saved. Billy says that completes the heptagon. Ramirez asks if there is any possibility for the pattern, perhaps a center point where it could go to. Billy says that the possibility of the center point is most likely, and the center point is at a garden, an indoor garden. Ramirez gives Billy a gun as they re-enter the cruiser of Ramirez. Ramirez tells the lieutenant over his answering machine that once the lieutenant is back, they will need backup at the garden. In the cruiser, before departing, Ramirez takes the antidepressants that he had gotten days before. Now, once at the garden, it is night. Since they have been studying their crimes for so long, it is nearly morning. They search for the killer,
Billy gets turned around in the dark of the building and splits from Ramirez. Ramirez gets trapped in a room with the killer, where he shoots the killer, yet nothing happened. The killer approaches him as he draws the weapon. Ramirez hears the killer. The killer is telling him to die by the hands that once killed his friend. Ramirez will not oblige. He will never give in to dying to the hands of such a man. So Ramirez jumps out the window to the outer garden. The killer grabs Ramirez's head, looks into his eyes, and tells him he is worthy. Therefore he removes Ramirez's eyes and replaces them with his own. Ramirez may now see with the eyes of the killer. And so, the killer vanishes to thin air. Now we go to Ramirez's point of view. We now may see all this black and white surrounding is now in color. We may see as much color as the sun rises. Now the credits roll. Tell you about everyone who's in it, everything, blah blah. Then we get an after credits. The after credits scene showing the main actors in costume dancing with some having their eyes fallen out if they were killed by the Bright Eye Killer. So they're dancing to a 1972 song. I don't know what song. But that makes the film end. Perhaps I might not give this to Wes Anderson. Perhaps I do. It's really up to whether or not I have that in my mind at the time making this. Now, I might not at all make this in 2030. Probably make it in 2040. Alright? This is a huge heads up. Anyways, I most definitely did use Fortnite for that medium. All those photos were mostly Fortnite, or the one that I edited. Or the one that I edited was not Fortnite at all, but most of them were Fortnite. Anyways, since it never ends, let the show begin.